Global, the Appalachian Recruiting Network. I'm your host, Cody Thomas. Tonight, we're joined by one of the most intriguing guards in the 2027 class. He's standing at 6'4" with size, versatility. He's got a great feel for the game and the ability to impact winning on the court, whether it's with KY Future Elite or he's back at Scott County, is what I'm told. Uh, Colton Helton's his name, and he continues to elevate his stock every time he steps on the floor. We'll talk about his recent Zoom visit tonight. What makes him unique isn't just his scoring ability, but Colton shows the complete package. He's a transitional playmaker who thrives in open space. He sees the floor exceptionally well, creates opportunities for his teammates, rebounds exceptionally well at the guard position, and he has the size to affect the game on both ends of the floor. Over the past two Pumas next pro sessions, he's been one of the most productive guards on the circuit. In Indy, averaged over 20 points a game, right at 6 rebounds and 5 assists a game, including a breakout performance of a 38-point game where he had 10 3-pointers, 7 rebounds, and 5 assists against a nationally Puma Next Pro respected program in the LSG Premier Ohio. Then in Memphis for the Pro Session 6, averaged 18 points a game, right at 7 boards a game, and 7 assists. So he's out. He was an outstanding all-around performance. He had a 26-point game with 8 rebounds and 10 assists. Dude, what a stretch of 2 weekends you had there on the Next Pro. As college coaches continue to evaluate in the 2027 class, Colton Helton has established himself as a playmaker worthy of attention because of his production, his versatility, and his long-term upside. Tonight, we'll discuss his development, recruiting process, his goals, his training habits, and what the future holds. Hey, Colton, dude, I appreciate you for joining me. How are you doing tonight?
Doing good. Thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, man, it's been a while. I've been wanting to do this with you. Let's just start out with your basketball journey. When you look back at where you were at 2 years ago compared to where you are now, where have you seen the most growth as a player?
Yeah, I definitely say to start off, definitely the confidence has definitely risen. Guess stepping into that positional role as a sophomore and then just keep building on that, allowing me to keep on growing, especially, in the weight room to starting to lift seriously as I got older and then, just starting to really get in the gym more and really adapt.
So a lot of people, will see your highlights and your stats and be wowed, but they don't always see the work that goes in behind that. What has your development process look like, over the last year or two?
Yeah, it's definitely like to go 6 days a week. Always trying to grind, get better. We always say, stack days, so always trying to get in the weight room, get on the track 2 to 3 times a week, always get in the gym, whether it be on the gun, whether it be with my mom or dad, rebounding, shooting, whatever. Just always trying to get better.
So at 6'4", you're continuing to grow physically while also expanding your skill set. What areas of your game have been the biggest points of emphasis recently?
I definitely say my shooting was able to extend the floor, make the defense shift. And I'd say on top of that, just being able to draw the defenders and then dish out the assists. So I'm able to, see the court and then also, knock down the three and then also get to the rim when I need to.
Nice. So how important has confidence been in the growth of you as a player?
I think confidence is huge. When you have a coach and when you have teammates who support you, it just allows you mentally just to go out there and play. And I think that when you just go out there and play, less mistakes happen and you're just out there playing basketball, doing what you love.
So I remember the first time I got to actually put eyes on you. I come out to a Scott County practice. Your mom and dad were great hosts. I remember seeing you in like the little fast break drills, and I watch your film. I get to see you play, and just kind of breaking down your game. Like one thing that stands out consistently is how effective you are in transition. Would you describe yourself like as a player who thrives as the pace increases?
Yes, definitely. I feel really comfortable, playing faster. I just be able to see things open up. I think, a lot of mistakes happen sometimes when you get in a half court and you're trying to force things. So if you can get that transition three or that transition layup, why not? Let's take it. And I think it just allows, it keeps the defense honest as well, makes them have to get back and just opens up more for everybody, the passer, the two gunners who are running, and just everybody on the team.
Your ability to push the ball ahead, find your teammates, and create the offense before the defense gets sets is really impressive. Where does your court vision come from?
I definitely say, growing up around my mom and dad, definitely always being in the gym, watching them always. My dad always talks about the run and gun system, and it's always, if you're gonna run, if you're a wing and you'll run, you're definitely gonna get rewarded, or the point guard's gonna be, gotten get in trouble, because if you run, you deserve to be rewarded for it. So I definitely say just growing up around it, always being around, high level players who like to play fast, get in a groove and just overall play fast and shoot layups.
So when you watch your own film, what do you think is the strongest part of your game right now?
I definitely say my shooting probably. Always can be more consistent, but I'd say catch and shoot threes are definitely good, and I definitely feel really comfortable coming off pick and rolls right now. So I think those two are definitely key in my game. And I know if I can hit a three or I can hit just a shot in general early, that normally that leads to a better game.
I know I watched a clip that I put a voiceover to the other night, like highly contested, this mid range. It was really nice, like that clip. I think it was like a 51-second clip, but it
Mhm.
was showing your shooting, and it wouldn't just catch and shoot. It was, with the ball in your hands, pull up and rise over somebody, turnarounds, which really impressed me. So, what part do you think of your game that scouts and coaches, may be overlooking?
Yeah, I definitely say my ability to get into the paint. A lot of people probably think, that I'm just a perimeter shooter. And while that's great, at some point people are going to start running you off the line. So you got to be able to make that 1 to 2 dribble pull up or, go all the way, shoot a floater, play off 2 feet regardless. I definitely say people don't see that, so like to do that more as well, though.
So let's talk about your big game you recently had, the 38-point performance. You had 10 made threes, and regardless of any class or wherever you're at, that's elite. Take us through that game. Like, what was working for you so well offensively?
Yeah, I definitely say, like I mentioned before, that first shot went in, and it was just like, just a confidence booster, and that just led to, just I was in the right positions for sure. I come off a couple of screens in the beginning of the game, and then as the game went on, having the ball in my hands, it just happened to be in the right spot at the right time. So, whether it be catching threes, catch and shoot, off the dribble, off the pick, regardless, or transition, So, I mean, I definitely say rhythm. Rhythm was really big, So once one went in, they just kept piling up.
Were you aware at any point in the game that you were having that special performance? Was you feeling it like you just feel like whatever I put up is going in?
Yeah, I think when I hit that side step, I think I was like, yeah, this one feels pretty good. Everything's going in. I think I pulled one from probably about 29, 30 feet. So after that one, I was like, yeah, I think I'm going to keep shooting now.
So, what's the key for you to maintaining confidence being a shooter?
Yeah, my mom always tells me, just as a good shooter, you can't have a conscience, so you can't let the last shot affect the next shot. So, just going forward, regardless if you've missed three or four in the next one, not taking an open shot is almost like a turnover. And then, but I mean, at the same time, if you're not, making your threes, you can impact the game in different ways. So I definitely say to stay confident and trust, your form and your work. It'll come to you eventually.
So when your shot isn't falling, how do you continue to stay in the game and impact it and help your team win?
Yeah, I definitely say, getting an assist is an easy way of just, to get you involved at the same time, by getting yourself going. I think if you can see someone else, produce and help you out, I think that it could possibly get you going and get you open shot, and hopefully you can step into that, knock it down.
Let's talk a little bit about some AAU play on the Puma circuit. Let's talk about its high level competition. Puma has risen, I guess, in the last probably couple years as it is a premier. It's a shoe circuit grassroots platform in the country. What has been competing against high level other players that level taught you?
Yeah, definitely. There's definitely a lot of athletes, so it's definitely good competition. So it's definitely taught me to sometimes, I know we say we like to play fast, but sometimes slow it down a little bit, read the court, and if you get a fast break, you better either dunk it or you better play off 2 feet because someone's coming to clean it off the glass. So I definitely say the athleticism and just the sheer there's some good teamwork as well though out there. So, some people play zone, some people play, like full court man. So definitely just the different array of defenses and different teams' philosophies. It definitely, teaches you to be a well versed player.
So you're playing in the 11th region, probably one of the toughest regions in Kentucky. Can you talk about like the key differences between Kentucky high school basketball and then when you step on, a court in the Puma circuit?
Yeah, I think definitely the biggest one, and I know that it's coming after the season I graduate, but we have a 24-second shot clock. So definitely you don't have no time really to mess around. Once you get it across half court, it's time to go. You don't got time to really run through a lot of sets. So it definitely teaches you how to be productive in a short amount of time. You don't want to force shots to get down to that, 3-second mark, but you definitely don't want to waste time doing, unnecessary action.
Yeah, I like the idea of the shot clock. Of course, it's going to speed the game up, but it also makes you execute plays a whole lot better because if you don't execute, then you're going to get terrible shots and you're not going to win. So I really like that idea. It's coming in Kentucky. How much, like playing against those high level athletes, nationally high level athletes, how has that like helped your game emerge as far as your development?
Yeah, it's definitely changed how I move. I definitely say, so sometimes you say you're coming off pick and roll, you want to put someone on your hip, because you're not always going to be the fastest or the strongest. So it definitely teaches you how to play to your strengths and definitely see, what you do best and what you can do and what your team does best. So you can also, counter, like I said, whatever defense they have. And then, no cross court passes. That's a big one. You don't want to give up an easy dunk on the other end. So things like that. Definitely just, seeing what the other team can do and making sure that you don't make, easy mistakes.
Who's the toughest guy you got to face this year on the Puma circuit?
I'd definitely say Bryce Garnett. He played on Clarksville crossovers. He was a really shifty guard. I mean, he probably hit about 4 step back threes. He's pretty nasty, good player.
So do you think a high level matchup like him brings out the best of basketball in you?
Yeah, definitely. Me and him would go back and forth in that last game in Memphis. We traded threes back and forth. So yeah, definitely. It gets me ready to go for sure. When I feel like it's definitely the bigger the matchup, the better. Just more to prove, and more to prove to yourself, and just go out there and show what you can do.
So first, I want before we go off into your recruiting, I want to congratulate you. You picked up your first offer from KCU, man. That's awesome. After that first one drops, but did you have a sigh of relief after you got your first offer? What's it feel like, being you getting your first offer?
Yeah, I really appreciate the opportunity from coach, and I just super thankful for him being able to see, where I could possibly play at the next level. And I definitely think it's just more motivation to see, that, someone does believe in me and just to keep on going from there and just to see, how far I can grow as a player on and off the court. So hopefully I'll just keep on getting better and keep on attracting more colleges.
Yeah, your recruitment has picked up. More and more people hearing about you, especially with your scoring on the Puma circuit. You had a Zoom visit last night with the Coast Guard, right?
Yes, sir.
How did that go?
It went great. Coach Jazz and Coach Martin definitely walked me through all the different things, especially it come with a military academy and what made the Coast Guard unique. It was super cool. Got to walk through boot camp. Things like graduation. Their rules and all that kind of stuff, and got to see like some of the gym and the weight room and all the stuff. Some of their preseason stuff, and so it's definitely insightful.
What's it like seeing your hard work finally start to translate into your recruiting opportunities?
Yeah, it definitely feels good, knowing that those like you say, those early mornings and late nights starting to pay off, but they deep down, it just only motivates you more. You got a taste of what you could do. So hopefully, you can keep on doing it and then keep on doing it at a higher level. That's what's even more, So, be the best player. Don't be just the best player in that gym. Go find another gym. Keep on climbing the ladder and keep on trying to get better every day.
So you picked up your offer from KCU. You had the Zoom visit with the Coast Guard last night. If people watching don't know, you have a GPA I think of 4.2, right?
Yes,
Really
sir.
high academic. Can you talk about some of those high academic schools that have been contacting you, and what are they telling you?
Yeah, definitely. I have a great relationship with Coach Sosky at Harvard. We constantly talk, so it's a great relationship there. He encourages me to keep on taking, hard classes and just keep on striving to get a SAT score up and ACT, regardless of that. Johns Hopkins is another one. John Carroll, a lot of those high level, academic universities, they always just encourage you to push yourself, obviously on the court, but academically as well, whether it be dual credit, AP classes, things like that.
So as you can, you're starting to continue to build relationships with these college programs. What are these coaches you talking about the classes? What are they telling that they most like about your game on the floor?
Yeah, they definitely they say that they like the way I can impact the game. Like you said, in transition mostly. They like to see, what I can do. Obviously it's good to stretch the floor, be able to knock down that three. But they also say, they like to see, other, great players can make people around them better. So they like to see how I can get other people involved. And as well, it's important to rebound. So definitely say just everything, but I definitely say the thing that sticks out the most is definitely the shooting.
So when you're evaluating these schools, what matters to you most? Player development, the relationships, the academics, the culture, or the style of play?
I definitely say they all go into play. Obviously whatever happens after college, whatever happens, but you will be set up for, your job hopefully. So I definitely say the academic side is definitely huge. But at the same time, you want to enjoy yourself, you want to be able to play the way you want to. So style of play is also huge. And in that relationship, I think is just, above all, you want to be somewhere where you can, have fun, but still get better as a person and as a player, and you want to show up every day, put the work in, and hopefully, win the conference or, go on and win a title.
What type of coaching staff or coach do you think would get the best version of Colton Helton?
I definitely say someone's gonna push me every day. Sometimes, it's hard to hear what you don't wanna hear, the constructive criticism. I'd say definitely someone who's gonna be on me every day, definitely trying to push me to, I won't say the limits, but definitely push me to, what I can do. So I definitely say someone's gonna be on me constantly.
Let's talk about how important is it for you to find a program that believes in your long-term development rather than just what you're producing now on the floor.
Yeah, I think it shows a testament, to producing, going from a young man to a true adult. I think it's trying to teach you those values. So I think it definitely goes a long way. So, they're not only helping you on the court get better, but off the court. But I definitely say, just getting better daily, and so it can hopefully keep going and growing over. So not just, worried about right now, but what's gonna happen in 2 years, not just, next month.
So every serious recruit or higher level recruiter prospect understands that, you always need to develop it or need to develop to play at the highest level. What areas are you really focusing on this spring and summer before you get back into your senior season in high school ball?
I definitely say the mid range. I think a lot of people probably say it's a lost art. Having that midi pool is definitely a good way of expanding your game and being a true 3 level scorer. So I definitely say the mid range pull up and definitely the finishing package. It's always good to have more finishes in your, I guess you could say, your bag. So when you do go against that guy who has a 40-inch vertical or a 7 foot wingspan, that you're able to finish through contact or finish over him. So I definitely say those two are definitely keys. That one dribble or two dribble pull up and then getting to the rim and finishing through contact.
What does a typical week of training look like for you?
Yeah, definitely gonna get on the gun at least twice or 3 times. So, we're looking at about possibly 3,000 to 3,500 shots up just off the gun. And then, so that's about 3 days. And then the other 3 days will be skill work primarily, whether that be ball handling, finishing, the mid game. Then, obviously, I think that the most important thing is the weight room. So, definitely going to hit the weights hard, you know, whether it be plyos, isometrics or whatever it can be. And then definitely, like I like to do sprinting, 2 to 3 times a week. So definitely all those things just to be a better athlete, so it can help you be a better player.
What's one, I guess, set or exercise that you just dread doing, but you know you have to do it to get better?
I'd definitely say Bulgarian split squats. Those are killer. They're definitely good for your 1 foot bounce, but they're no fun, especially when you load it heavy, but it's part of it.
Are there any specific players that you try to study or emulate or learn from? NBA, college?
Yeah, I'm a big like I said with the mid range. I like to watch Devin Booker. I think Devin Booker has got a really smooth jump shot and he just gets to his spots really effectively. And I like the way he plays. He's also a Kentucky guy, so I guess I'd be a little biased. But he's really smooth. I like the way he plays and just the way he also impacts the game. So I definitely say him.
What do coaches and scouts that you've been talking to? What do they challenge you the most to help you improve moving forward?
Yeah, I say they definitely just say be the leader. A lot of times I think that, college coaches want somebody like that. So I definitely say be a leader more and just lead by example. So truly stand out and also win those 50-50 balls. They talk a lot about that, so those loose balls or that rebounds up for grabs, they want to see, how competitive you are and they want to see, I guess if you're a true winner, so how bad do you want that? So definitely winning those hustle plays.
How much emphasis do you put on becoming a more complete two-way guy?
I mean, I think it's very important. If you give up 30, whatever. But if you can score 30, that don't really mean as much. So I definitely say that it's very important. You got to be able to defend. If you can't defend, you arguably can't be on the court. So I definitely say that, whether it be transition, half court, we play a lot of man and press, so it's not as much as zone. But even if it's zone, I think communication and definitely just being able to guard your yard is huge, so because I mean, I know I'm gonna say this. I was watching NBA Finals. I'm gonna say Harden. So I mean, Harden really couldn't guard Brunson, and that kind of killed the Cavs. So I think it's very important. Defense is very important.
So on the defensive side, would you rather play man or zone?
I'm a man person. I think that everyone should be able to guard on ball and or help side. I think zone leads to a lot of problems because people like to stand. They kind of float off into space, and you got to have a lot more communication in zone. And definitely, it's hard boxing out as well. So when you go against some of these high flyers, if you're not boxing out your area, someone could get punched on.
So I forgot to talk about it. Playing with the ball or off the ball. What do you prefer? And does playing off the ball challenge you right now? As far as that's something you need to develop.
Yeah, I definitely say that off the ball is very important. I would like to say that I'm really good at that. It definitely comes in waves. Will find myself standing sometimes, so I definitely need to work on always moving, cutting because it may not get me open, but it may open my teammate up. So I definitely say that I think it's like 95% of the games play without the ball. So you're not gonna have the ball as much as whether you think so or whatever, so I definitely say playing without the ball is definitely very important.
Let's talk about mindset and leadership. I spoke to a JUCO coach today, and He's looking for a point guard, and he was just emphasized so much that he needed someone to hold his guys accountable. He just to get other players involved, needed to show up and always put in the work. So leadership is something that college coaches definitely value. How would your teammates describe you?
Yeah, I definitely say that I'm not a real like loud leader. but I just say like I lead by example most of the time. So I definitely say I'm just trying to I'm more like I try to encourage you, and like point out the things. I think that just works better, because everyone's gonna make mistakes. I make plenty of mistakes. So there's no need to either, yell at somebody or, whatever. We'll let the coach do that. So I definitely say just trying to point people in the right positions and help people, not make that mistake twice. Definitely, that's my way of trying to be a leader, but I definitely got to get better at it as well.
What type of teammate do you think you are?
I definitely say I'm a good teammate. I could definitely be a better teammate, but like I said, I always like to encourage you. So if I got a shooter, I'm gonna say keep shooting. Well, forget about the last shot. Keep shooting. If you miss a dunk, you miss a dunk. I think next play mentality is really, it's hard for me sometimes as well. But I think if you can keep that next play mentality, you can definitely impact the game. You can win a lot more games.
What motivates you every day when no one's watching? When you're in the gym by yourself, what keeps you motivated?
I definitely just say the goal of playing college basketball. I think it's been a goal since I was a little kid, and it's just something I want to. It's just a promise I said to myself that I'm gonna do whatever it takes to get to that next level. Not just for me, but my family. Being able to set myself up, get an education, just it could really provide and allow me to set me up for my career. And on top of that, just it gives you something to work forward to. I think that it's just a great way, to wake up and get better every day.
What drives you to to keep chasing those goals?
Yeah, I definitely say since, I got a taste of, what it is like to have an offer. So I definitely say just keep on pushing, every day. And it's also great to see like the little growth, whether it be on the court, you hit a new PR in the weight room or whatever. Just those little things and those little strives to success build up over a lot of time. I think it's just great to see, your hard work eventually will pay off, but you have to keep going.
You know, everyone thinks that the physical part is what you have to, the only thing you need to have to get to the next level. But, mental toughness is key. How do you handle adversity? How do you handle if your shot's not falling or getting injured, if you have a nagging injury? How do you get through adversity?
Yeah, I definitely say you have to go through a lot of adversity, on your path to, being the best version of yourself. So it's definitely key. I think you gotta like block it out sometimes. It's harder said than done, but I think you gotta, just keep your mind focused on the goal and keep your mind focused on, what's ahead. Don't look at the past, don't look at the future. Just look right now, what you can do. Try and affect the game or affect your life, what you can do right now. Don't try and look too far ahead or look too far behind. You can't change what's in the past, and you can only prepare for the future.
What drives you to continue chasing your goals?
I definitely say that just internal drive. I love being able to see to get better every day. I love being able. I guess you could say I love the grind. It truly is. I enjoy getting up early, going to get a lift in. I enjoy staying late to shoot. I just like to do things that's going to help me become a better person, but at the same time a better player. So I definitely say just that grind.
What goals have you set for yourself in the next 8 to 12 months?
Yeah, I definitely say to continue to possibly get more college offers. That's definitely a big goal of mine. And I'd say, why not? Let's run district next year. So definitely win district and possibly be on all region team, things like that. So I definitely say just keep winning, individually and as a team, and possibly let's why not get the rope.
By this time next year, what would you like your recruitment to be?
Hopefully next year, I'm either close to committing or already committed. Hopefully, definitely. Hopefully, I can have a good relationship with my college or college coach, and hopefully, we'll be ready to go by next year, and we'll be all ready.
What do you want college coaches and scouts saying about Colton Helton after this summer?
I want him to say that he'll do whatever it takes to win. Whether it be offense, defense. He just impacts winning. That's what I hope they would say about me. A lot of things go into winning, but I just say that hopefully I would impact winning and I'd be someone that they want on their team because I just help to, team culture, and I just want to be there. I do whatever it takes to win.
So when your basketball playing career is over one day, whether it be college, professionally, what do you hope people remember most about you as a player?
I hope they remember that I was the hardest worker in the gym, and I would work, constantly to get better every single day. And hopefully, they remember me as a good person that helped people around them also grow. But I definitely say I want to be remembered as one of the hardest workers.
Dude, that's incredible, man. Let's have a little fun real quick. Some little quick hitters. Who's your favorite NBA player?
Michael Porter Jr.,
What's your favorite college basketball program?
Duke.
Hardest opponent you've ever faced
That's a good question.
through
Hmm.
high school? Your Hoker. Who's the hardest guy you ever had to pick up?
I'd probably say Josh Lindsay. He's pretty nice.
What about your favorite shooter hoop in?
Kobe 5.
Man, that's a popular answer. Favorite gym you've ever got to play in?
I'd say the old Scott Kane High School. A lot of history.
What's a gym that you would love to get the chance to play in?
Hmm. I'd say Cameron Indoor.
Your favorite pregame food or meal?
Let's keep it simple. Let's say Subway.
Subway. All right. What are you getting at Subway?
Let's do turkey, bacon, lettuce, tomato, cheese, and mayo. Something like that.
So let's get into your playlist. Who's your favorite music artist?
I'm a big Future fan.
So that's what you got in your ears before the game.
Yeah,
Future.
that's my yes sir, that's my guy.
I think I know the answer to this one. What's your dream school visit?
Duke.
One word to describe your game.
Hmm. Shooter.
I'd go with versatile, but shooter's a
Yeah,
good
that's a good one
one.
too.
So before we wrap up, what's your message to college coach that may be watching this interview right now?
I'm definitely someone that is gonna do what it takes to win, like I said, and I can, do whatever, you need me to do. Hopefully I impact winning. I just make the team a better team and I'm able to, give you positive outcomes.
Before we wrap up, how can coaches, media, scouts, and fans find you on social media?
Yeah, they can definitely find me on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Facebook, anything. Most of mine are Colton Helton 3. My Twitter's Colton Helton 23. So I'm easy to find.
That was 2027 Kentucky Future League guard Colton Helton. At 6'4", Helton possesses the size, feel, versatility, and production that college coaches covered in today's game. Man, your recent performance is 38 points. 38 points. Outburst, averaging 20 one weekend, 18 the next. But the biggest is probably not just the points, man. It's averaging 6 or 7 rebounds as well for the whole weekend. Scoring at 3 different levels. I watched your highlights of, just being able to turn around those pull ups, the way you attack. I really like that. So you're impacting the game in a variety of ways. But more importantly, Colton, you're a player committed to development. You really embrace coaching, and you continue to expand every aspect of your game. So as recruiting attention continues to grow, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised to see more programs involved with you. After your big summer. So I wish you the best, and guys out there for more recruiting coverages, player evaluations. We have rankings, articles, scouting reports. Our podcast here. We also do edits and graphics. Follow Pure Prospects. We're on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Um, the Pure Prospects podcast is powered by Blue Chips Global, the Appalachian Recruiting Network. So subscribe to us here on Substack, over on our YouTube channel, Spotify. You'll find the Blue Chips Global podcast. And guys, don't forget the Blue Chips Global Interstate High School Shootout is June 13th in Morgantown, West Virginia. To learn more, you can go to bluechipsglobal.net, or you can follow or message Blue Chips Global on Instagram, X, and Facebook. I'm Cody Thomas, and this has been the Pure Prospects podcast by Blue Chips Global. We'll catch you next time. Thanks for having you on, Colton.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
See ya.
See you.